So many people with us last week reached out about our segment on the Live Local Act, the new state law meant to create affordable places to live. The first sign of unintended consequences, that tower that can now be built in Miami Beach's low-rise Art Deco district. We talked about that last week. But even before that came to light, the city of Doral issued a stop down of all new development plans to figure out what it all means. And joining us now, Doral Mayor Christi Fraga, right here at the table with us. Great to have you in.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to be with you.
And you, a lot of this attention came from Miami Beach's issue and headline, but Doral was the first municipality to do something, and that was this moratorium against new plans to figure out what the Live Local Act meant to you. So what have you figured out since then?
So our moratorium was to create a standard in which to review these plans by, to have a process for our staff to be able to process these applications, since they're fully administrative. They don't come through the normal
development applications.
Correct. They don't come through the normal applications process that we would normally see, like coming to the city council. And so that's what the moratorium is for. We completely understand the preemption of not having authority to legislate the height, density, or the use. That is set in the bill, but there is tools within the bill that we do have the authority to legislate on. However, we don't have standards for them because we would never contemplate an application like the one that has been presented in Doral.
I want to go back to that, but so I'm going to headline what you just said is there's confusion about this.
There's a lot of ambiguity in the bill.
Okay, so this is a very well-intentioned bill. I mean, affordable housing is the state's number one issue, number one crisis, and this is meant to fix that.
Absolutely.
And then there are these unintended consequences that we now see bubbling up. But what's interesting is that local governments, at least the ones that I've been dealing with since learning about this, seem to have been taken by surprise. Were you taken by surprise? This was quick.
I got elected in December in a runoff by the time I took office, and I jumped right into what was happening at the legislative session. This bill traveled very quickly.
It did.
It hit the floor February, and it was signed by the governor in March.
Yeah.
So it was the first bill on the floor. I was up there in February, and I had heard that the bill was going through this process. Because there was developers interested in taking advantage of it in my city, and it immediately rose alarms for me, because I felt that it really took away the very, very thoughtful process Doral has gone through to have responsible organic growth and really plan out our city. It's why we have such a successful city in downtown Doral and City Place and Midtown Doral. And we've really planned out the growth of our city.
So you know what's interesting about Doral in this bill? So the bill, 95 pages worth, but essentially if a developer includes 40% of affordable housing, and there's a calculation for that.
Correct.
In a development, then for 30 years, then the developer can, under the state's rules, build pretty much with the highest height and the deepest density that a city has.
Correct.
In any place in the city.
So it's the height is 1 mile radius allowable.
Right, 1 mile
doesn't mean it has to be built. It's whatever's allowable within your zoning within 1 mile radius of that property.
Okay, so now does this, if a developer meets that criteria, it takes away, it essentially puts the developer in control.
That's right. And again, there is certain built-in tools that we have the authority to legislate on.
Like what?
Like setbacks and landscaping and parking concurrency, environmental. Right. But you have to take into consideration that our code has these standards based on what we have planned, or the master plan. So what is a community mixed use? What standards do we use to look at an application that falls under that? But nothing really lets us review this process under these standards. So, and I have to use the example that we currently have in Doral, because it is an 18-acre parcel, commercial, that is next to single-family homes, a community that has a golf course and then townhomes. And then now you're talking about putting a 14-story high-rise overshadowing these homes. of course residents are upset and concerned about their quality of life.
And I just want to kick that up a bit. This is Doral we're talking about. This
Correct.
is every city in South Florida,
Correct.
every city in Florida,
Yeah.
every resident in Florida has a stake in this.
Yes, absolutely. And again, understanding the intentions of the bill and that they were trying to fix an issue that we're all dealing with. Doral has been very forward-thinking in this matter, I have to say. We actually put a workforce housing component in our comprehensive plan in 2014.
I think a lot of cities have done that as
We
well.
saw it coming down the pipeline, and so we felt that we needed to create an incentive for developers that wanted to take advantage of these opportunities and create safeguards in these aspects. However, Doral's had very, very organic growth, and that's important to us, and responsible growth. So I think creating this bill that was just a blanket layover on every municipality is dangerous. And that's where I think that the bill should have targeted a little bit more transit corridors and thought a little bit better about the impacts on local governments.
So this bill, we had the Senate President Kathleen Passidomo here with us when it was filed. And I went back and watched that interview, and what she said, and this is a quote, is, "This is not preempting local zoning ordinances. It's asking for them to be fast-tracked."
Oh,
Do you agree with that statement?
No, it does fast track, right? The bill says you have 30 days to review, 120 to provide, you have 30 days to create a response, 120 days to review. That is extremely onerous on a small government like ours, in a sense, where our planning department is 7 people, and it's also very difficult to review 18-acre site plan within that time for our planners. So it does fast track it, but it does take away our authority. Our zoning map, our comprehensive plan, what we've laid out to be the vision of our city is stripped away from us at this point, because now any property that is zoned in industrial, commercial, or mixed use can basically put a residential component to it.
And I think what was really telling was that 2 developers filed plans the day the law went into effect. So they were waiting.
They were ready.
They were ready.
They were ready.
Christi Fraga, Mayor of Doral, so nice to have you here. And I know you'll keep in touch with us as this goes. As this is
I
cooked
will be in
through the process.
Tallahassee quite a bit this session. And we're hoping to share our experience, and hopefully they will implement amendments to the bill that will make it what it's intended to be.
We will see you there.
Yes.
You're reporting on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.